So we're just doing part A for 1.1.3, and we're doing this by hand. It says without using a calculator. So this is actually from an old test. When I ask you to do it by hand and show steps, I need you to actually work through and show all of your steps. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this -2. Tells us find y when x is -2. I wrote down my equation already. I left out my x's. In place of my x's, I'm going to put that -2 in there. And then we'll just do order of operations to figure out what this is equal to. So exponents would come first. Squaring a -2 means -2 times -2, which is 4. We'd bring down everything else. I got addition. I got multiplication. Order of operations says multiplication comes first, so I'll do 4 times -2. That's -8. I'll bring down my -4. Now I just need to do -4 minus 8, which is -12, and that's going to be my final answer. Just for clarity, if I put this question on a test, let's say this was worth 4 points. If all you write down is -12, you will get one of those 4 points. Okay, to get all 4 points, I would need to see these steps. Okay, so make sure if it says show work, that you're showing the work. If you're ever working on a test and you're not sure if you're showing enough work, you are welcome to raise your hand, call me over and say, am I showing enough work here? And I'll be like, yeah, that's great. Or I might say, hey, can you show me one more step between these two? I'll let you know what I'm looking for, okay? All right. If you were not here, or if you have lost the work that we were doing on Monday, please go over and pick up another copy of it, sitting over on the counter next to those red cups. We're going to do the back side of this today. We have a really short amount of time today, so we're just going to do this one problem together, and then I'm going to give you time to be working on assignments. Question? Yeah. Would this be a positive? Thank you for that question. Let me backtrack a little bit right here. All right, so when I do this, I'm going to do the exponent. When I did the exponent, I was just dealing with the parentheses. This negative, I didn't touch it until the last step. You see how there was a negative in front of the x squared to begin with? Did you miss that? Okay, that's it. You had a copy error. I hate those. So you did everything right. You were just doing a different problem than we were. Cool. Are we feeling okay about that? Yeah, awesome. Thank you for asking the question. Okay, back to this. We're on the back side of this, folks. We're going to do exactly what we did on Monday. Was anybody not here on Monday? Okay, you've got some folks around you that will help you through, or else I can come over and give you a hand with that. And I'll give you a copy of our notes here in a second, too, for Monday. If you have the one from Monday on the back side of it, remember we filled out the table and then we graphed it and then we analyzed all of this stuff that's listed on the bottom. We listed those things and labeled them on our graph. So we're going to do this. I'm going to give you a different equation to do this time. You're going to need to copy this down. So our equation we're using this time is y equals x squared minus 6x plus 5. And I just want to remind you how to do this. We're not going to do this by hand this time. We're going to go ahead and use the calculator to speed things up for us. Let me just work with you on this first row of our table, and then I'll cut you guys loose and you can work with your table partners, or you can move and join a different partner to finish this up. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug -6 in here in place of the x's. So I'm going to copy down my equation. Gotta get you guys to write at least this first one down. You don't have to write every one of them down. Let's write this first one down. I copied down my equation, but I left all my x's out. And I'm working on my first row. So what am I going to put in those parentheses in place of the x's? -6. You guys are great. So we'll put that -6 in there and there. And like I said, we're going to use our calculators this time. So if you have a calculator in front of you, could you please go ahead and type that in? I'm going to do the same. Remember, it gets a little tricky with the negatives and the minuses on some of these calculators. So if you get an error, maybe try using a negative instead of a minus. If you've done everything correctly, your calculator should be spitting out the value 71. Oops, I'm sorry. It should be spitting out the value 77 because I typed it in wrong. Typo. All right. 77 is what I meant. Thank you so much for correcting that. If you're not getting 77, get my attention here in a minute and I can help you figure out what's going wrong there. You do not have to write this out for every single one of them. You can just fill out the table and then go ahead and graph them. Do you guys remember the little trick so that you don't have to retype it in every time? On these yellow calculators, you can use your arrow to go up and highlight the last thing you typed in, hit enter, and then you can just cursor over and overwrite those sixes, turn them into fives, and hit enter, and now you've got your next value for your table. So work with your table partner. I need you to both get that filled out. And then you're going to graph it, and then I want you to label it just like we did on Monday. Let me grab my notes from Monday so I can remind you what that looks like for those who didn't bring their stuff in. So when you label, make sure that you're labeling all of the things that are listed there. And then also for the points, make sure you're giving me the coordinates of those points, like the y-intercept. Don't just write y-intercept, give me the coordinates. Okay, it's going to look different from that. My solution is up on the board over there. Do you guys see where I'm pointing at right now? So when you finish up your table, it'd probably be a good idea to go over and check it against my table before you graph it, right? Because if you made a mistake in the table, you don't want to graph the wrong information. So check my table over there. And then when you finish your graph, go ahead and check and make sure you've done all of that stuff correctly too. Okay. I'll be around to answer questions and help you out. At this point, if you would like to move and work with somebody different, that's fine. Make sure that both people at your table are getting a chance to type stuff into the calculator so we're all getting a chance to practice that, all right? Any questions? You guys are awesome. When you finish this, I do want you to be working on any assignments. For those who are finished with all of your assignments, that's great. You can work on something for another class or just relax. No phones though. And we are done today at 10:08, which means you may pack up at 10:06, but not before that. All right. All right. Thank you, folks.